Hello, and welcome to Financial Wellbeing Part 3. When you're looking at your money, it can be really difficult to know what steps to take, what to do next. There's a lot of noise around money management, and particularly this year and next year, we know things are going to be really, really tight. So, whether you've been an investor or a saver previously, or a spender previously, you might need to start making some adjustments with how you're going to be approaching your money. So, working with Finwell, as a financial wellbeing specialist, they have a fantastic 5-step process that's really easy to then be able to decide what your next process, your next step's going to be. So let me read them to you, and then we'll go into each of those a little more deeply. So we have foundations. Getting a strong foundation is pretty important. I think we all know that. Next one is property ladder. Then we have protecting what's important, investing for your future, and finally, modern retirement planning. So let's deep dive into foundations. So getting your basic money management right and in place before moving forward is going to give you a much better platform from which to grow and evolve. It will ease loads of pressure because you may have some things in place, but not all things in place. And you're feeling things are just feeling a bit sticky, don't feel quite right. You feel just a little bit at odds with yourself. This is where you've got some things missing in that foundational piece. So let's go through some of these things. The first thing to think about, and I'm sure you know this already, is debt management. Damage limitation. It's no fun being in debt. Whether that's just a few £100, a few £1,000, or many thousands. For most of us, myself, absolutely, it makes me feel quite sick. And I've lost sleep over being in debt, and it just plagues my brain. Now, we're all made differently, of course, and your emotional reaction to this, is yours. But I think it's fair to say that the financial implications of continuing to be in debt is not such a great move. I don't classify mortgage as being in debt, which of course technically you are, but it's a known fairly low risk debt in that you've taken it out over an extensive period of time and you're paying it back and you have something to show for it. And also, of course, the worst comes to worst, or you wanted to change tack, you could of course sell and on you move. Debt and the other kind, you can find yourself in debt for many different reasons, many of which are not your own doing. But sometimes things are your own doing and you've chosen to just spend differently or not been aware of your spending habits, which we'll come on to in a second. So you do find yourself in a bit of hot water. So if you haven't already, definitely get yourself a bit of a plan in place for how you're going to pay back this money and how long you're going to be doing it for. With my budgeting for beginners toolkit, you'll find there's a whole piece on there about debt management, and it helps you to understand what you owe, who it's to, what the interest rate is, what period of time you're looking at paying it off for, and you can start to look a bit more strategically about what you're going to decide to pay off first, how you're going to approach it. And there's various ways you can do that. And in that toolkit, I talk a little bit more about that. If you're in a little bit too deep, or you're not in a position to be able to figure this out on your own, definitely get some help sooner rather than later. The guys at Step Change are absolutely superb. They don't judge you, and they're going to be incredibly supportive and offer you lots and lots of different tips and resources. So do check them out. You've also got Citizens Advice Bureau and Money Saving Hub and various other places, but just make that change today. Just start investigating. Step 2 in foundations, you have a personalised money plan, a budget, my favourite topic, and it's written down, more importantly. Where you write it is up to you. It could be just your favourite pad and you keep it updated every month. It could be a scrappy bit of paper, or it could be a spreadsheet. Now, for me, it goes without saying, a spreadsheet, and I never used to love spreadsheets, by the way. So ones I design are totally user-friendly and they don't make you go kind of cross-eyed when you're looking at them because there's figures everywhere. Very, very simple to look at. It just gives you that visibility further down the line. I'm all for cash flow management, which you'll find out if you look at my products. It's really important that you have that visibility and you're not constantly hand to mouth, month to month, because surprises come around the corner. Unless you've got them in your financial diary, you're not going to see them coming, and you can hit that brick wall, and suddenly all that good work you've done with getting yourself out of debt, you're not back on your bum again and you're back in it. So writing down your budget plan enables you to stick to it. You're 10 times more likely to stick to that plan if you have it written down. Thirdly on the list, you've created money and lifestyle goals. Now, these could be for the next 3 to 6 months, 3 to 5 years, and beyond. Having some idea of where you want to head in life. I mean, I know it's really tough when you've got little kids, and of course, it's all about them, and that's literally you're going to be your life. But it doesn't have to only be where you put your focus and attention in terms of where you live, what you're doing in your careers, where you want to live in 5 years' time, 10 years' time. There's a lot of stuff that you can put into that mix. It hasn't got to be something far flung, like that's it, let's up six and move to Australia. Oh, that would be lovely. You don't have to have anything quite so crazy as that, but you just need to have some clear direction of where you're going as a family, as a solo person, as a couple, because then you're likely to get there. And there's little tiny steps that you take every day, there's little decisions that you make are going to enable you to get there. So having created money and lifestyle goals for yourselves, they work as a superb filter for your money spending decisions. So if you think, oh, I really fancy a new XYZ, think to yourself, is this going to be helping us move further towards the goals that we've set for ourselves? Or is it just shiny toy syndrome? Oh, I want to have that. It's brand new. That looks amazing. Now, treat yourself. You know, you've worked hard for your money. I'm not saying don't buy yourself lovely things. That's ridiculous. But when you know you're in that sort of spending habit where you think, oh, I really want some new stuff, just have a little think about it. Is it because your budget is perhaps a little restrictive and you feel like you just need to branch out and buy some nice things? Or are you just used to spending that way and not really considering the knock-on effect to your sort of longer term vision? So just have a little think about that one. So the fourth item on the list, your spending habits and your relationship with money is absolutely critical and key for how you're going to move forward with this. Again, in that budgeting for beginners toolkit, you'll find a spending tracker. And it's sometimes one of those things you sort of just buy some, I don't know, a coffee and a bun, and you might just go to the news agents and think, oh, a couple of magazines. You know, you go to Tesco's and you go there for your food shopping, but you see, oh, that's a bargain, a couple of candles, and suddenly all these little bits, is £5 here, £5 there, you're £100 a month deficit because there's little tiny purchases without even realising. So having some way of being able to track, certainly in the first couple of months that you're changing a budget or starting a budget, really key to seeing, like a food diary, you know, where is my money going? What am I eating? And lastly, savings. Now, I know this is really tough right now for a lot of people, myself included. You know, there's various things that you might want to be saving for. And actually having something to save for is that great motivation to move forward with that. So it could be a holiday that you want to take your family on next year because you really deserve it and you need that lovely break as a family. Maybe you want to start saving for Christmas. Maybe your kids are going off to university in a couple of years' time. But there's a reason why you should have some cash reserves put aside for things. If there's no things that you want to save for, how about a sinking fund? So what the hell is a sinking fund? So a sinking fund is when you have those regular larger purchases through the year. And it could be a car service, it could be Christmas, it could be those things that just always think, oh damn, I'd forgotten about that. And when they're expensive in 1 month and it depletes you in that 1 month, it's probably a good idea to spread that across the course of 6 months or the whole year and put aside some money. So if, for example, those few things that you wish you had the money for at the time, say it comes to £1,000 a year, then put £83 aside for those set of purchases. So you always have that money available. Emergency fund. You'll be hearing this a lot. If you listen to any financial podcast, you've spoken to a financial advisor, this is huge. And I wish I'd done one a lot sooner. So financial advisors will always recommend you have at least sort of 5-6 months worth of your expenses in a savings account. Now, for me, if you look at my expenses over the course of a month, you're talking about all the regular bills, food, etc., your basic, survival money, it's about 1,500 quid for the two of us. So 6 months of that is 9 grand. That's a lot of saving, but it's incredibly sensible. Something is always better than nothing, however. So even if you just got £1,000, if something were to break, fall apart, it needs replacing, you have got that little bit of a backup plan in place. So something's always better than nothing. Moving on, property ladder. Are you looking to get on the property ladder for the first time? Or maybe for the first time solo after a relationship breakdown. I have got a first time buyers toolkit. I love it. It's the sort of thing I wish I had when I was selling out in my 20s. The ebook's about 25 pages. And there's stacks of stuff in there. It talks to you about who you need on your team, what the solicitors do when you need to talk to the solicitors, financial advisors, mortgage advisors, and how the whole process works and who talks to who, what part you need to play in it all, how you save up for it, when certain things need paying for. Everything's all in there for you. It also comes with a wonderful spreadsheet. So if you're brand new to budgeting, it will give you the affordability checker for your mortgage advisor, who'll be very impressed with you when you go up with a 12-month cash flow plan. But also it gives you a reality check, right? So when you have got your new house, you can plan ahead and think, right, now we're in our new home. Let's now plan out month by month what our first year in our new home is going to look like. And you know what? Rinse and repeat that and just keep that going for as long as you want. So Mark Humphrey, he's one of my lovely friends and colleagues. We work together quite a bit. He's got a fantastic podcast. So if you're not familiar with the process of buying a home and you want a really nice, user-friendly podcast, he has the best one I know of. I might be a bit biased. I'm on number 16 and I talk about budgeting. So I'm going to put the link to that in the show notes, and you can literally just nip across and look at the podcast. Also, the notes for all of this video is on my blog, which is on my website, budgetingandplanning.co.uk, and the link to the podcast is also in that blog. So moving on to two other portions to think about with mortgages. So how far away are you from your fixed rate mortgage ending? Now, mine is going to be in the next 4 months, which is a bit scary because the interest rate is going to go up from under 2% to well over 4%. So that's going to mean quite a big difference to my outgoings. But I know that now. And I am making preparations with Mark, actually, and we're going to be looking at my mortgage options to see what is going to be the right decision for me to make, for us to make. Absolutely put this in your diary. So even if it's next year, give yourself 6 months lead time and then start doing some research. Speak to a mortgage advisor and see what your options are. The sooner you get that ball in motion, the better the deal you're likely to secure for your concurrent mortgage interest rate. You might be able to just stick with the same mortgage provider and just stay on a really good rate, or you might need to jump ship and change your lender. So speak to a mortgage professional. And lastly, within that mortgage bracket or home ownership bracket, if you're over 55 and you're worried about the impact of retiring, or you really could use some of the equity in your home, maybe you want a nice new kitchen and to just do up your home and perhaps re-landscape your garden. Maybe you want to get your son or your daughter on the property ladder themselves and actually really could use giving them a gift towards their deposit. This is a really good option, and actually quite a few podcasts now, financial podcasts, are talking about this as a great option. My colleague and friend Chris, who I see every other week, we have a really good chat, is such a nice man, and I have him linked into my website and I'll put it in the details as well. He is a great person to talk to, doesn't cost you anything. He would just talk you through the whole assortment, and there's quite a lot, of course, to consider in this type of later life mortgage or loan, and he will help you for free unravel where you're at and what the best options are for you. So the last three items, these are definitely not my field of expertise. I'm going to whiz through them, but I want to just bring them to your attention so you know they exist and put them on your radar. So protecting what's important. You've got car insurance. Would you have that if it wasn't a legal obligation? It's one I've had various conversations with people, and it's an interesting one because other insurances aren't a legal obligation, and this is where we can sometimes decide not to have them. So we all need a plan B. I love a plan B. It's that safety and security of knowing that if plan A goes wrong or askew, something else is going to step up to the plate. If something happens, you lose your job, you lose your partner, the relationship breaks down, all the what ifs, the crap in our lives, suddenly you've got all the emotional drama that goes around with those things, but then you've got the financial drama that goes around with all the crap that goes on. It's really important that you've got some consideration to the what ifs, and that protection is going to help you. And it can, talk about pet insurance, we're talking about critical health insurance, buildings and contents insurance. There's a whole gamut of, is that the right word, gamut? I'm using it, of insurances that are there for good reason. And it can very well be one of those first things you decide to cull when you're doing a budget and you're really having to bring down your outgoings. However, before you do any of the key ones like protecting your loved ones, protecting your property, please speak to a financial advisor. Again, if you have one, use that one. If you need help with that, come to me and I will point you in the direction of 2 or 3 really lovely ones that I would recommend to you. Investment. So when you've arrived at this set of destination of the 5 points, you need to be clearly having great conversations with a good financial advisor. They know stuff you won't know about. There's a chance that there will be some loopholes or some really fancy things you hadn't considered from a tax perspective. They'll be able to advise you on, and you'll be so glad you did. So investments, talk to a really good investment broker perhaps, but I would definitely say a financial advisor. And lastly, modern retirement planning. Oh God, this was a total like Yawnsville, years ago in my 20s when I set up my first pension pot. But the landscape looks really different now compared to what it used to. That conversation feels a lot more fresh, and there's a very different perspective from a lot of financial advisors when you're talking to them about your modern retirement planning. I couldn't give 2 hoots about it at the time, but I'm really glad that I have set up that pension. It's not going to lavish me with a champagne lifestyle, don't get me wrong, but it's that nice extra top up. And it's, again, that reassurance, that little bit of security. I think, oh yeah, I've got that coming. So that's always good. From being 20 years old when I first heard about pensions to 49 3/4, life went really fast. I know it's tough when you haven't got much money to spare, but just have that conversation with yourself so that the decision that you're making right now is the absolute right one for you. For now, let's face it, the next couple of years are going to be pretty sticky for all of us. After that, hopefully not so much. So you need to think about how to get your money working for you, short term, medium term, and longer term. So thank you very much for listening. Part 4 is on its way, and we will be talking about how to actually put this entire selection of things in this series into an action plan for you, how to look at goal setting. I've got a freebie to give you as well. You can help with that. So please just tune in. It won't be too long. It'll be here. Thanks very much.